I think it's okay to draw on your differences in who we are, what we've experienced, how we think. Every guest that comes to a Mattress Firm store, they all come from all walks of life, richer, poorer, and so do we.
There will be discomfort, there will be disagreement, there will be opportunities and times that you feel challenged or times that you feel like you need to challenge someone else. But I think that's the point. That's how we all grow. Without that sense of conflict and that willingness to debate, to disagree, to understand someone else's perspective and to understand someone else's challenges, we just get comfortable in our own environment.
Being a female in a male-dominated industry, I can still offer my story and my knowledge freely to my peers or even my higher authorities, and ultimately we can all learn from each other and grow together and be more successful together.
My dream of an inclusive environment is to be able to tell people that I work with that I have a husband and a daughter that I love dearly, and not to see a shock in their face or not to see them taken off guard a little bit, and that just be just the same as anybody else explaining their family story.
There's an equal opportunity for anyone coming within this company to move up as far as your ambition allows, as far up in the company as you want to. And as MLK once said in his dream speech, for everybody to be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin.
Growing up as a biracial kid, I often felt excluded and otherized. I know my experience is not unique. The thing is, we're all different, and we all have something that could otherize us. An inclusive workplace strives to embrace our differences, to include our voices, and to treat us fairly.
I could envision a place where everyone's background, opinions, ideas matter, and that we live in a place where we can choose to understand versus making assumptions. I think that's what makes us human.
If you just look at all the professions, so you can look at doctors, lawyers, the military, all throughout this country, when you go into the high performing companies, you're going to see people from HBCUs at those companies.
Whether you're a sales expert or whether you're working in upper management and leadership, your voice is heard equally throughout the company.
Companies with a culture that's based in trust, collaboration, and inclusion, really where all employees feel comfortable speaking up, those are the companies where the best ideas emerge. And companies that have these inclusive cultures are more able to tap into 100% of their employees' capability. It makes it an exciting place to wake up and go to every day.
It's no secret that Mattress Firm is changing. We're determined to be bigger, better, smarter. Change of this magnitude doesn't come from sitting still. To improve, we've got to move. Just a few weeks ago, we added a few words to our list of values. Adding this value to our list and living it fully will make a huge difference in our performance. As a team, as a place to work, as a place where we serve customers for life. It's in this spirit that we're inviting new voices like Dr. Shelton Goode into our conversation here at Mattress Firm. Dr. Goode has been in human resources for more than 20 years. He's an expert with experience in promoting diversity and inclusion, managing talent, developing organizations and leaders, and coaching executives. He's a passionate educator as well, having taught and mentored countless students. At Troy University, he was awarded the first ever African American Doctoral Fellowship and selected Faculty Member of the Year. Dr. Goode is a nationally acclaimed thought leader on the subject of diversity. His ideas appear regularly in The Economist, in NPR, Bloomberg, and Forbes, which named him one of the top 10 diversity and inclusion trailblazers. Dr. Goode is also an Air Force veteran, a decorated officer who served his country in the time of war. For all of the accomplishments I've just shared with you, I've left so many out. Truly, Dr. Goode is a person whose wealth of experience can teach us a great deal. After hearing directly from him today, we'll also get to watch an interview between Dr. Goode and Jody Putnam. Please join me in giving Dr. Goode a warm Mattress Firm welcome and embracing his ideas he's bringing our way.
John, thank you for that very generous introduction. But hey, you forgot the most important part of my resume, man. I'm a Mattress Firm customer. I go to bed every night on the most comfortable mattress and have a great sleep and wake up with my lovely wife, Pam. So I want to give a great shout out to my folks over at the Conyers store in Conyers, Georgia, for talking me out of getting, the mattress that I wanted and getting the mattress that my wife wanted. Because everybody knows that a happy wife means a happy life. All right, so hey, having said that, thank you. I am so excited to have a few minutes to spend with Mattress Firm and the entire family today. You're probably saying, who is this guy, Dr. Goode, and what's he going to talk about? What I want to do is just spend a few minutes today talking about what makes a company diverse, what makes it, how can they be a little bit more inclusive, and how can they be a little bit more equitable? Now, I know you probably are saying, I don't even know what diversity means, inclusion and equity. Don't worry about that. We're going to talk about that. But I know that Mattress Firm, I know that John wants a company and wants to not only create it and build it, but wants to sustain and have a company where everybody comes to work and goes home at the end of the day feeling respected, not because of their different, not be respected regardless of their differences, but be respected because of the difference they bring to the organization, because of the difference of their background and their education. I know that he wants everyone to feel like they belong and that they're treated with dignity and respect. And so what I want to do today is talk about what some of the my clients and some of the companies and some of the CEOs that I talk to, some of the things that they are doing to try to have a company that's a little bit more diverse, a little bit more inclusive, and a little bit more equitable. And the way that I want to do that, we're going to take this in two different steps. I'm going to share some behind the scenes conversations and some secrets, talk about some of the things that's keeping CEOs at night, but more importantly, what they're doing about it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation with one of Mattress Firm's top leaders, Jody, and we're going to have a candid conversation so that this makes sense for Mattress Firm. So the first question, which is, Dr. Goode, because of everything that is going on, we're still in the midst of a pandemic that has mental impacts, physical impacts, health impacts, financial impacts. Then you layer on top of that, we saw one of the toughest summers this country has ever seen, with the deaths of George and Ahmaud and Breonna and Blake, and I can go on, and the social justice protests and everything we saw about that. Now, remember, while you have the pandemic happening and you have the social justice, we also were in a tough election season. And I don't have to tell you, you know as well as I do, that we're still going through it, that this country experienced one of the most contentious and divisive election seasons. You put all that, you layer all that, and what do you end up with? You end up with employees who are thinking and feeling a lot of different things. And they need someone to talk to. Remember the days where, maybe your manager told you we don't talk about race, religion, politics, and things like that. A lot of companies for years have told their employees we don't talk about those things. Those days are gone. Because of everything that is going on, employees want to talk about what they are thinking and feeling. And what I'm trying to encourage organizations to do is, why not encourage them to first try to talk it over with their managers? Now, the CEOs of those companies will say, whoa, we're not prepared to have those sorts of conversations. My response is, let us help you. Let Icarus Consulting help you. We can help your managers have those courageous conversations that need to be had. And some organizations have said, Doc, we don't want to do that. It's something else we can do. Yes, what you can do is create a forum for employees to have a safe conversation. Let them talk to you. And so the question is, well, what kind of forum are you talking about? We're talking about a town hall. We're talking about a listening session where the senior leaders listen to what employees are thinking and feeling, and not listen to fix, but listen to learn. Now, if in the course of the listening session or the town hall, there's 1, 2, maybe 3 things that the company should take action on, that's fine. And what I encourage CEOs and the other senior leaders, you guys don't necessarily have to fix it. Why not put together a group of employees and empower them to address and come up with cost-effective, sustainable solutions about the issues that they care about the most. Now, that may sound risky, but actually it's not. Most companies, and I'm sure Mattress Firm is no exception, if you wanted to increase sales in a particular market, or even go to expand your presence in a market, you would probably put together some sort of tiger team or some sort of team that would study that market and figure out what's the best way to address the issue. Why would you treat diversity, equity, and inclusion any different? Diversity, equity, and inclusion are business issues. So those are just a couple of the things. I don't, again, before we go to this conversation with Jody, let me kind of take you behind the curtain and share with you a couple of conversations. So I'll share with you a conversation I had with a CEO in the fashion industry. And when we were talking about just what we're talking about now, how do you create a forum for employees to talk and share? He says, Dr. Goode, there's something I want to talk to you about, but I said, see, stop right there. That's what I'm talking about. What is it that makes you so reluctant to bring up an issue that you obviously want to talk about? And the CEO says, well, I don't know how to bring it up. I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't want to be labeled. I don't want to feel guilty. I don't want to feel defensive. That's the issue. That is the number one issue. As we try to come out of the shadows of COVID, of a very tense social justice environment, and obviously as we put the election in the rearview mirror, if we're going to thrive on the other side of those crises, we have to talk. And we have to be able to talk about sensitive and tough issues. And people say, well, there's a risk in doing that. There's a greater risk in not talking. Going back to the story that I shared with you about the CEO, it was so funny because when he finally got around to asking me his question, it went something like this. He says, Shelton, I have a direct report who happens to be a VP of sales. She just so happens to be an African-American female. She's not getting it done. Now, I know it's COVID, and I know, there's a lot of headwinds towards sales. And I know right now, maybe people are not thinking about buying some of our, high-end items. But, taking all that into consideration, she's not getting it done. I said to him, so what is the problem? He says, well, I don't know how to, I'm afraid to talk to her about her performance because as a white male, I don't want to be perceived as, whatever, anything other than a boss that's trying to get better performance out of his direct report. So I said, let me make sure I got this right. You're the CEO You just so happen to be a white male. You have a VP of sales. She just so happens to be an African American female, but you're reluctant to talk to her about something that is irrefutable, which is the fact that the numbers are way off. Okay, let's make sure that we understand something. That's your issue. So let's talk about how we get you to make sure that you have that conversation so that at that you get to the outcome that you want, which is better performance, better results. And so obviously we went into a coaching session, and the long story short was he had the conversation. The numbers still didn't get to where they needed to be, but he and his VP still have a healthy relationship, and of course they're looking forward to being able to turn performance around. I share this story with you because when you hear, again, diversity, equity, inclusion, you hear these words, people have different perceptions, different understanding, but at the end of the day, it's not that complicated. You already have a diverse organization. Most organizations are diverse in every way that you can think of. People with different backgrounds, people with different education skill sets. The key is, does everyone feel like they're part of the team? Sure, they may have the uniform on, they may have a number, they may have their name on it, but do they feel like they are a part of the team? Are they put into the game at the crucial times so that their skill sets can be used? And then, is the workplace or the processes fair? Do some people, some people able to perform their job and because they have a lot of resources, whereas some other people are having to work harder because they don't have all the resources they need? Why? When you look at it, diversity plus equity plus inclusion, if you have all of that, you're going to have higher business results because you're going to have employees in your organization that feel respected, that feel engaged, and feel connected to the organization. So with all that being said, let's put Jody on the spot. We're going to have a candid, open conversation. He's going to ask me some questions. I'm going to ask him some questions. And what we hope to come out of it with is a greater awareness of where there may be some opportunities for Mattress Firm to advance and accelerate its diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. I know that they've got a team of folks already working hard on this. I'm hoping as a result of today's conversation, I can help them move the ball maybe another 10 yards down the field. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and transition, and I'll see you on the other side when I'm talking to Jody. Again, thank you for having me today. Talk to you again soon.
So Dr. Goode, thank you for that. That was amazing. Hearing the story about the CEO that was struggling with many of the same things that I know that myself and other leaders here and other people here are struggling with. So thank you for that. And obviously we want to talk about some of the things that you referenced in your talk with us. Before we do that though, we've had a chance to get to know each other a little bit this morning. And I think that our people, who are amazing people, would love to hear about your sons, Shelton and Marcus. It's just a really cool story. So can you take just a couple minutes and tell us about your sons?
Yeah, so, as a father, which, I'm the proudest father on the planet. And as a father of daughters, I think you can appreciate this as well as the rest of the folks. So I have two sons. One went to, the University of Texas. The other one went to Texas A&M. And I remember sharing that off camera. And, one of the people was like, how does that happen? And so, one son went to UT, was the big guy on campus. Of course, his younger brother doesn't want to follow him, right? So what does he do? Out of all the great schools in Texas, he decides to pick Texas A&M. And then the story doesn't stop there. His brother goes into the Air Force and is flying drones. What does he decide to do? He decides to go into the Navy and go into the medical field. That's when I decided there's got to be a way for me to divorce him and kick him out the family. But children, you do everything you can to raise them, but once they get older, they have their own mind and go their own way. Which is a funny segue into diversity, right? People say, I don't know what diversity is. Think about your own family.
Sure, that's great. That's great.
Think about your own family. You know, you raised them. You got a lot of similarities, but everybody has their own unique differences. But you all belong to the same family. So that's a nice little tie-in.
So we're at the. You mentioned get 10 yards in your talk a few minutes ago. Another 10 yards down the path. We're at the very beginning of this journey for us as an organization for how we become a more inclusive organization. What should we expect? Does this happen fast? Does it happen slow? Like what have you seen with companies you've worked with?
Great question. So, you know, the number one question I get from companies all the time is Dr. Goode, how long is this going to take? You know, how much resources is it going to take? What's the investment I'm going to have to make? And I say, if you want your company to be a little bit more diverse, a little bit more equitable, a little bit more inclusive, it's going to take time. And they obviously people want to know, you know, well, how much time and why does it take so long? It's a journey. It's a continuous improvement process. It's a change management process where you're trying to get a little bit better every day, and it doesn't stop. So one of the things that I try to help them do is pick 2, maybe no more than 3 things that you could take a step back and say, let's say 3 years, 4 years, let's even go 5 years from now. You look back and say, wow, we are a better company because we did A, B, and C. I tell them, pick things that make sense for your company. Don't pick up the New York Times. Don't pick up a diversity magazine and say, oh, you know, this big tech firm did this big pharma company did that. No, what makes sense for your company? Think of it, you know, I know I used the sports metaphor earlier, but let's think about a company the way we think about our bodies. No matter how healthy we are today or how unhealthy we are, we know that we can get a little bit better. But you know you can't get there overnight. Some of us may need to lose a little bit of weight. Some of us may want to get in better shape, cardio. Some of us may want to get a little bit stronger. You can't get there overnight. We all know, but if you're going to get better, there's some things you got to do. We also know if you don't do anything, you're not going to get better. So pick 2 or 3 things. Walk a half a mile. You know, try to think about where you're recruiting from, and maybe think about, are we overlooking talent from someplace else? You say, wow, you know, take a look, listen to your employees. If you say, I don't understand what inclusive is, or I don't know what we should do to be a little bit more inclusive, if you're doing surveys or focus groups, or even if you're not doing them, talk to your employees. Let them tell you. And equitable, you should be looking at your internal processes, all of them, your business practices, to make sure they're fair and they're not having unintended impacts or outcomes. You should be doing that anyway as a normal, everyday practice. But the way to get healthier, the way to get better is to do a little bit every day, pick 2 or 3 things, and set a time that says, you know, in 3 years, I want to be a little bit better at A, B, or C. And then put yourself in the future. Look back and say, wow, we're better because we did A, B, or C. And I know people are saying, well, what's A, what's B, what's C? We can talk about that throughout the conversation.
So you mentioned some really interesting things there. Think about who you're recruiting, you know, broaden your recruiting, looking at your process to make sure that they're fair. Are there any other things that that are kind of at the top of the list that we should consider when we think about how we're going to change?
Yeah, so the things that's at the top of the list, that's one of the questions I get all the time. You know, what are the things that if I can only do 1 or 2 things and I can't do any more, what should I do? I will tell you, again, I'm gonna use data. People like data. Out of all of the clients we are working with, when I take a look at their employee surveys, now imagine this, Jody. Every year, companies ask their employees to tell us, what's it like to work here? Do you feel that you're treated fair? Do you feel as though it's safe? Do you feel as though you're given the resources and information? And they ask them a series of questions. Some companies do it every other year. Most do it every year. Do you know what the lowest rated item on the survey is?
I know what ours is, but I'm curious.
The number one is employees do not believe the company is going to do anything with the information. That's at the bottom. The one right on top of that. So let's imagine there's 25 questions. The lowest rated one is 25 is, I don't believe the company is going to do anything with this. The one that's number 24 is, I am not sure that the way we promote, advance, give people opportunities to be all they can be, I'm not really sure that the way we do it, I'm not sure that's the fair way or the best way to do it. I've got some doubts about it. Those are the things that consistently, and I tell companies, particularly CEOs, okay, if you don't know what diversity is, that's fine. You don't know what inclusion is, that's fine. Equity, let's just put them off on the side. Let's just see what your employees say. What's it like to work here? And if they say, well, you ask me these questions every year, but you don't do anything, let's do something about that. They're telling you something there. Let's look into what's behind that. And then this question about career opportunity, career growth, the fairness of opportunities. What's that about? And oh, by the way, they say, well, oh no, that's just us, that's just people whining. No, I tell them, I wish I could, say that was true, but chances are, when I look across all industries, all of our clients, it seems to be consistent. I think you're seeing that consistently be low because you're dismissing it, or you're not doing anything about it. Why don't you put together a little team, and let's figure out what's going on there. Those are the two things that I think companies can do. If they can just use their own data, if they will just listen to their own employees. I'm not saying fix everything. Yeah, obviously, somewhere on that list, employees want more money, right? Sure. And you can't fix everything, but certainly there's got to be one or two things you can do every year to get a little better.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. Changing gears a little bit, we're about to hire, or we intend to hire in relative short order, a diversity inclusion leader for the organization. What are things that I could do personally that could help that person be successful?
Yeah, so obviously a mattress firm has a strong brand. You're going to attract a lot of great candidates. So you're going to find, I have no doubt, one that understands and fits with your culture. Now, after you've done all that, what you're going to have to do is let that person put together a strategy that makes sense for the business. And then everybody needs to say, even though we have a diversity leader, we are all the chief diversity officer. Jody's the chief diversity officer. John's the chief diversity officer. You can't put it all on that person. So that person's job is to be the quarterback. There I go with my sports analogies again. But I think everybody understands that. I don't care how good a quarterback is, you need an entire team to win. And so obviously the person's going to lay out a strategy that makes sense. And then I would say, everybody suit up and help accomplish the things that are going to help make the business better. And you're going to keep hearing me say that. You're going to hear me use the word business even more than the words diversity equity, and inclusion, because that's what this is all about.
So as I think about the conversations, right? It's first of all, I believe we have an amazing culture. I believe we have an amazing group of people in our stores. You know, we talked earlier about my experience over 2020 and watching the resiliency of the people who work in our stores. So I think we have amazing people. But that said, this topic. It's very difficult to start the conversation, or at least that's how most of us believe.
Yep.
It's hard.
Yep.
How would you guide an individual person, whether they're a leader or not? How do they start having the conversation?
Yeah. And so let's be clear. A question that I get all the time is, wow, how do I have a conversation around some of these topics that are happening today? And again, we have to put it in context, right? These conversations were forbidden in previous years, but you can't. And I tried to convince people before. Why would you not want to internally talk about something like immigration if you have a sizable portion of your population that are Hispanic? And imagine what they must be going through if they are impacted by it. Wouldn't you want to know if that's impacting their performance? So how do you have a conversation around some of these topics? What I call them courageous conversations. And trust me, they are not happening. Why? Because people either A, they don't even know how to start them. B, if somebody starts it, they don't know how to respond. You say, Dr. Goode, why is that? Because as a leader, I judge my actions based on my intentions. But other people, the people on my team, they judge my actions based on how my actions and my words impact them. So the first thing that both people have to do is enter into the conversation with wanting to come out of the conversation with better understanding and hopefully a solution or resolution of an issue. Both people have to go in with good motivation and good intent. And then, let me role play this out. So let's say, Jody, I have an issue that we were in a meeting, in a sales meeting, and I came up with a good idea, and you cut me off mid-sentence. Now I'm feeling a certain kind of way. Let me tell you what happens in the real world. I'm mad. I don't come talk to you, but I go talk to Kristen. And I say, Kristen, right in the middle of me offering a good idea, Jody just cut me off. And then I couldn't get a word in edgewise. He's always doing that. You know, I think he doesn't respect me. And I go on, and I'm telling Kristen all about the issue. Then I go on and I'm still mad. Kristen comes up and tells you, Jody, you know, Shelton's kind of peeved at you. Now, you see how things get messy by the time you and I talk. Well, oh my gosh, now we're talking about intent, impact. It should go something like this. Jody, let's talk for a minute. You know, you're my brother from another mother, but in the meeting the other day, I had a good idea. Instead of backing my idea, you cut me off. Now, I know you didn't intend to cut me off like you did, but I didn't like it. So, hey, listen, when we go into the next meeting, not only am I going to bring up the idea, but you're going to champion it. Now, so let me tell you what the idea is. Then you tell me what I'm missing. And then when we go in there, we'll have our act together. Is that cool? Then you come back and say, oh man, look, you know I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got distracted and then you give, and you see how that's a different conversation. It's where things go wrong is when I'm mad and then we're having a conversation because I've stewed about it. You see where I'm going?
I do.
That's what happens real world. And you say, well, Shelton, and you probably say, I know your next question. Well, Shelton, we're on the same team, we're the same leaders. Why wouldn't you just bring it to me? Now that's the issue. Why didn't I bring it to you? That I think that, well, you know, I'm black and you're white and is there a lot of other stuff that, you know, was I afraid of how you were going to receive it. I don't know. All I know is that people don't have the conversation that they need to initially have. The conversation that they usually end up having is the one that's now emotionally driven and not based on the issue that initially happened.
Well, if it happens at all.
That's correct.
Sometimes it just continues to stew, right?
That's correct.
That we don't ever bring it up.
Or let's take that same scenario. We go into another meeting, it happens again. Oh, now I'm absolutely convinced it's personal, right?
Right.
Where if I had brought it up, or let's reverse that same scenario. Now Jody's brought it up to you, and now I'm mad. Now it's like, man, I don't know why he's mad, but I don't want to go talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Instead of coming to me and saying, Shelton, come over here, man. Let's me and you talk for a second. You put your arm around me. It's like, look, the other day we was in the meeting. I cut you off. That was not my intent. I know it probably upset you, but hey, I'm sorry. It ain't going to happen again. So what was that idea, by the way? And then we had a conversation. It's like, you know what? There's a couple of things I need you to go do some more research about. Then when we go to the next meeting, do you want me to bring it up, or do you want to bring it up and then I'll just have your back? That's a different conversation. And again, in that scenario, I could have initiated it, or once it was brought to your conversation, to your attention, you could have initiated. You see, I hope that makes some sense to somebody out there.
It makes great sense to me.
I hope it does. Does it make sense to y'all? Okay. All right.
It makes great sense to me, Dr. Goode. And actually, it isn't just at work, right? This happens in our communities and our with friends and family members sometimes where we don't have these conversations.
That's correct.
So why is it? Why do you feel, in your experience, that people don't have the conversation? What are those things that we can maybe help them think about, and why they should have it?
Yeah, it can range. The range goes from things like, I don't want to appear to be a team member. I don't want to be labeled as not being a team member.
Yeah.
I don't want to be labeled as the person that always is complaining. I don't want to be. I'm afraid of how Jody's going to receive it. I'm afraid that, and then you just keep going on. I'm afraid that if I bring it up, and since Jody's the chief retail officer, and I'm a director or a store manager, I don't want it to hurt my career.
Yeah.
It keeps people, again, fill in the blank with what they believe could happen if they have the conversation. You know the question they never ask themselves? Wow, what's going to be the impact on me if I don't have the conversation? That's the question they should be asking. And I've known people that they have had an issue that's been bothering them for months. And when you ask them, why didn't you decide to bring it up? And they will fill in the blank with something. And here's the funny thing. When I talk to their manager, the manager response is, I was unaware of what I did, and I was also unaware of the impact that it had.
Yeah.
Now I have to tell them, well, it's not about your intent. It's not about the fact you weren't aware. It had this impact. So what are you going to do about it? That's tough.
It is tough. But what's tougher is when they really aren't aware, and that's where the conversation's never had. In your example, Kristen came and told me. Mm-hmm. So then I had an opportunity, if I took it,
mm-hmm.
To address that. So
I don't want to cut you off, but you said, you think the unaware is the tough part? The unaware is tough, but what's really tough, Jody, is you had a blind spot.
For sure.
And if that blind spot is because of some bias that you had, I was using you in the example, so I didn't make you the bad guy. But let's say, you seem to always cut off people that look a certain way, or if they are female. And it's like, wait a minute, I do that. I didn't even know it. I wasn't even aware I was doing it. I wasn't even aware I have I always seem to cut off people that look a certain way, but I don't cut off the people that look like John, or the people that are higher on the hierarchy or the food chain. So that's what's, when you have to make them aware of that potential, what I call blind spot or bias, that's what's tough.
I know.
That's what's tough.
So if I'm a leader in the organization and I want to start the conversation without someone telling me, hey, I've done this, or I want to find out if I do have those blind spots, if I am having some members on my team that feel alienated, that don't feel included.
Right.
How would you guide that leader in having that conversation?
Yeah, easy. And I know we're running short on time, but I would be remiss if I didn't share with you one of the most powerful techniques that I know works. This is one that it doesn't cost any money. For my team, which I have a very strong team, I have created an environment where they're not only not afraid to bring things up, they feel obligated. If they were here right now, or better yet, when they see this, they're gonna come. We have a technique called 3, 2, 1. They're gonna say, Shelton, when you had that interview with Jody, there was 3 things that you did that we really liked, and they would say exactly what they were. Then they would say, there's 2 things that you really stunk up the joint on. And they would tell me exactly, and then they would say, there's 1 thing that we believe you should never say or do again, or better yet, there was 1 opportunity that you missed. You failed to talk about the great work we're already doing with Mattress Firm, or you failed to talk about, the fact that Mattress Firm has a great a team of folks that's already putting together, some strategies and some initiatives that are going to advance and accelerate. And it takes no more than 30 seconds. 3 things that you did well, 2 things that you could be a little bit better, and 1 missed opportunity. That's how you get people not only afraid over the fear of bringing up things, but creating an environment where they feel obligated and committed to coming in the effort to make the team better, giving you that feedback and having that conversation. So, and I hope I didn't use up too much of our little bit of time we got left.
No, that's okay. So you referenced a few things that we're doing. One of those things that we're going to do shortly after this conference is we're taking most of our leaders through Eagles Flight, which is a course to help them. Do you have any thoughts for me around how I can make sure that isn't just a course they take and they learn a little bit but they don't use it? Like, how can I help them or help the organization ensure that those leaders do use what they learn? Yeah,
so I know you guys got a great partner and y'all going to do this great leadership development and things like that. If you want to, so that's going to be good. But the real part is accountability. I can't give away all my secrets. So if you stuff a Mattress Firm mattress full of money and call Icarus Consulting, we'll come over, come back, and we'll help your managers apply all that great learning and even take it to another level. But all you have to do is just stuff a mattress full of money and then call us and we'll come and help you.
Fair enough. So as we wrap up today, I know you can't give me all the secrets, but what are 1 or 2 things that you feel like we should know as an organization that our teams in the field, whether they're in a leadership role or not, should know? What are 1 or 2 things?
Yeah, is that there's strength in diversity. This is the time to listen. This is the time for all leaders, for everyone to listen. We've got to do a better job of listening. And then if you discover that there's 1 or 2 things that you can fix, don't try to fix everything. Fix the 1 or 2 things, again, with that sports metaphor that's going to move the ball. Just get a first down. Don't try to get a touchdown. Just get 1 first down, one at a time. That's what we need. Everybody is, because of the crises, let's give everybody a chance to breathe. Let's not overwhelm them. Let's figure out the 1 or 2 things that really make a difference, but it starts with listening. Let's make sure we're creating an environment so people can come and give you some feedback. How about that?
That sounds great. And Dr. Goode, thank you so much for coming today. I've so enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you a little bit before we did this, listening to you speak to the group. This has been really, really, really great. Thank you so much.
And I look forward to working with you guys some more. Thanks, Jody. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome job, folks.
Great job, 100K Riders.
Hi there, it's me again. Take a break, take a breather, and we will see you back here at the beginning of the next session.